Right.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, I want you to step back for a second. Just think about this challenge. What single, maybe simple seeming culinary thing is so completely tied up with the place's identity?
Right. Like knowing it immediately marks you as an insider.
Exactly. It's, more than just something people like. It's like it defines the local taste, a non-negotiable part of the flavor landscape there.
Mm-hmm.
Because today, we are leaving the theory behind. We're diving deep into a very specific culinary obsession right in the Mid-Atlantic region.
Okay.
We were talking Washington, D.C., and it's absolute, like, unwavering devotion to this thing called Mambo sauce.
Ah, Mambo sauce.
This is going to
Yes.
be a deep dive into a real hyper-local flavor phenomenon.
And that term hyperlocal, that's really, really key here, isn't it?
Totally.
Mambo sauce, it really does go beyond just being, a condiment you'd find on the table. It's a cultural marker, a culinary hallmark, really, for anyone who genuinely knows DC.
So what's our mission today? We're not just skimming the surface, are we?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely
like-
not. Our mission today is extremely detailed. We are not just going to talk about the history of this spicy, tangy, sweet stuff, though we will cover that. We're dissecting the mechanics.
Mechanics, okay. Like the engine under the hood.
Exactly. We're getting right into the functional chemistry, the precise breakdown of how each ingredient plays its part, how it contributes to that final flavor, the texture, the viscosity,
Right down to the nitty-gritty.
right down to the measurements and the cooking methods given in our source material. We're breaking down the why behind the how.
Okay, I like it. And just to place this historically, where does it come from? Ancient origins?
No, not at all, actually. Mambo sauce, or sometimes, you hear it called Mambo chili sauce.
That chili part feels important.
It is. We'll get back to that. But it's a modern legend, not some, colonial recipe dug up from archives or a 19th century thing.
So relatively recent.
Yeah, very much so. It popped up pretty recently, specifically from those high-volume, really bustling kitchens, the local carry-out restaurants in the capital.
Carryouts.
Yeah.
Okay. Not fancy restaurants.
Nope. Think late 20th century. So we're talking maybe the 70s, 80s, possibly creeping into the 90s for its real solidification.
And that origin, born from like everyday necessity and local demand in those carryouts, that sounds fascinating.
It is, and it directly shapes the sauce itself and the recipe we're going to really tear apart later. It had to be practical, punchy, and probably, cost-effective to make in bulk.
Makes sense. All right, let's dive into those origins and what this sauce really means in DC. Okay, so section 1, origins and identity. First off, the geography. It's not just a pin on a map. The environment is what made this sauce possible.
Born in Washington, D.C., the heart of the capital.
Definitely DC. And crucially, the specific environment wasn't, fine dining. It wasn't even sit-down family restaurants initially.
It was the carryouts.
Exactly. Those ubiquitous local carryout spots. The neighborhood joints, often Chinese or soul food places, operating at high volume, often late into the night, feeding the city's rhythm.
That high-volume, quick service setting, that feels like the first really big clue to understanding the sauce's DNA, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
needed to be something you could make relatively quickly in large batches, something versatile enough to go on lots of different things, wings, fries, fried rice.
And probably not using super expensive or exotic ingredients.
Precisely. It had to be cost-effective, consistent, and deliver a big flavor impact immediately. It was something memorable.
But you mentioned it evolved kind of organically in these places, so no single inventor. Well, that's the thing. Because it grew up in all these separate kitchens, the sources are clear. The exact origins are a matter of debate. There are definitely competing claims, different families or restaurants saying they started it. The classic local legend stuff.
Exactly. And that lack of one single verifiable inventor, it's actually kind of vital to his identity, I think.
How so?
Well, it means Mambo sauce wasn't like patented or trademarked early on by one entity. It was more like open source almost.
Open source sauce. I like it.
Yeah. It got adopted, tweaked, adapted, probably perfected through just, local competition and what customers wanted. Culinary necessity driving innovation in dozens of kitchens at once.
So the fact that the origins are a bit fuzzy actually adds to its, mystique.
I think so, yeah. It makes it a collective invention. An oral history passed down through cooks, through neighborhoods, through families running these businesses.
Okay, so maybe we don't know the one person, but its status now. That's solid.
Oh, absolutely solid. Regardless of who first stirred those ingredients together, its status as a beloved local treasure, as the source puts it, is undeniable. It's the sauce that got famous simply by being indispensable. People needed it.
And let's circle back to that name thing. Mambo sauce, plain and simple, versus mambo chili sauce.
Uh,
You said that chili part matters.
it really does, because calling it Mambo chili sauce, which some sources confirm as an alternate name, it instantly tells you something.
That the spice isn't an afterthought.
Exactly. It signals right away that the spice component, the heat, is foundational. It's not optional. It's part of the core identity. It immediately positions it differently from, say, a standard sweet and sour sauce or duck sauce. So it tells you, expect some kick. It's a hot, complex condiment, not just sweet. Precisely. It sets expectations. Now, let's zoom out a bit and talk about the cultural weight, because this is where it gets really interesting, moving beyond just food.
Right, the source calls it a cultural symbol. How does a sauce become a symbol? Well, in the DC area, the claim is that mambo sauce isn't just a condiment, it's explicitly called that, a cultural symbol. I think it works because it signals authenticity. Authenticity. Like, if you know mambo sauce, you know DC. It's a shibboleth, almost.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's
Yeah.
a signifier. If you know it, if you have an opinion on whose is best, if you put it on everything,
Yeah.
it shows you have a connection to the local culture, beyond just the monuments and museums.
Okay, so unpacking what it symbolizes, the sources say it's a testament to the rich culinary diversity of the region. How does it show diversity?
Well, think about where it came from. Often Black-owned carryouts, sometimes Asian-owned carryouts. It bridges different culinary traditions within the city. It's not tied to one single ethnic cuisine, even though its strongest association might be with soul food or Chinese-American carryout. It became its own DC thing.
And the sources also mention the local passion for flavors that pack a punch. That feels very true.
I think that phrase, packing a punch, is critical. DC food culture, especially in that local independent carryout scene, isn't generally known for being, like, subtle or delicate.
No, you want bold flavors, memorable, something that stands up to fried food.
Exactly. Bold, memorable flavors are demanded, and Mambo sauce delivers that punch consistently. Sweet, tangy, spicy, it hits multiple notes. Hard.
So it represents the taste of that local independent food economy, tied into DC's unique urban identity, separate from the federal government side of things.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's the flavor of the other DC, the neighborhoods, the everyday life. It's intertwined with the city's specific Black cultural history and its entrepreneurial spirit, too.
Okay, so that leads us to where you, the listener, might actually encounter this stuff. Where does it show up?
Right. The sources give us some clear scenarios. First, the absolute classic, the most iconic way. Ordering carryout from a neighborhood spot. That's its natural habitat, right?
Yeah.
Often in a squeeze bottle on the counter, or they drizzle it over your wings or fried rice right before they hand it over.
Precisely that. That's the ground zero experience.
What else?
Second, because it is a cultural symbol, it moves beyond just the carryout counter. It shows up in more public settings, like local food festivals.
So vendors might showcase their own special versions there, maybe competing for bragging rights.
You got it. My mambo is better than your mambo.
It becomes part of the city's public culinary life.
And the third way mentioned, the third one is maybe the most telling about how deeply integrated it is. People whipping up a batch at home, making it themselves. So it's
Yeah.
not just a commercial thing.
Exactly. The fact that residents often make it themselves, using recipes like the one we're going to break down, confirms its accessibility. It's moved into domestic cooking. It signifies that it's not some closely guarded trade secret, but more like a shared community staple. People feel ownership over it.
Like making your own barbecue sauce in Kansas City or something.
Similar idea, yeah. It's part of the home cooking repertoire for many. So the key takeaway here really is its function as a kind of flavor narrative for the city.
And narrative, how so?
Well, whether you're grabbing a quick late-night meal after work, or maybe you're prepping food for a family cookout or a community gathering, Mambo sauce is often there. It represents a taste of DC's vibrant food scene, as the source says.
It connects the dots.
It connects that neighborhood carryout experience to the city's broader culinary identity. And that connection between the specific setting, carryout, and the required flavor profile, bold, punchy.
Yeah.
That gives us a perfect bridge into analyzing the flavor mechanics themselves, what makes it taste the way it does.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Section 2, the sweet and spicy dance. Let's move from the culture to the actual chemistry happening on your tongue. We need to define precisely what mambo sauce is, taste-wise. All right. The sources describe the core flavor harmony, the absolute essence of it as an infusion of sweet and tangy flavors with a hinted spice.
Sweet, tangy, and a hint of spice. Those three elements seem crucial.
They are. And what's immediately fascinating, I think, is the dynamic relationship between them. It's not just three things existing separately.
Okay, unpack that. The sweet and tangy first.
So the sweet notes, which are pretty prominent in most versions based on the recipes we see,
Yeah.
that sweetness hits you first. But it's immediately challenged, balanced by a really significant tangy element, acidity.
Likely from vinegar, right? Almost certainly vinegar, yeah. And that push-pull, that tension between the sugar and the acid is absolutely crucial.
Why crucial?
Because if the sweetness wasn't checked by that acidity, the sauce would just be cloying, syrupy, overwhelmingly sweet.
Like a bad dessert topping, maybe?
Exactly. But the acid, it cuts through the sugar, it brightens the whole flavor profile, gives it that characteristic sharpness. It makes the taste dynamic, keeps it interesting, prevents it from being flat or one note.
Okay, so sweet and tangy in balance. Then where does the hinted spice come in?
The spice provides the third dimension. It adds complexity, a different kind of sensation, and often that lingering finish on the palate after the sweet and tangy notes have started to fade.
But hinted suggests it's not always overpowering.
Right, and that's key too.
Right.
But let's connect this balance back to its function. Why this specific profile? Think about what it's usually served with.
Okay, the sources mention crispy chicken wings, golden French fries.
Right, savory things, often deep-fried things,
Yeah.
things that can be relatively heavy or high in fat.
Ah, so the sauce needs to complement that.
It needs to do more than complement. It needs to counteract it in a way. You need that acidity, that tanginess to cut right through the richness, the fattiness of the fried coating or the potato.
Like how lemon cuts through oily fish.
Precisely that principle. The high acidity and also the heat from the spice, they perform a necessary functional role. The acid essentially scrubs your palate clean.
Okay, scrubs the palate. I like that image.
Yeah, it cuts the richness, the oiliness, so that the next bite of that wing or fry is just as appealing as the first bite was. It prevents flavor fatigue.
So the sauce isn't just adding flavor, it's making the main dish taste better for longer.
Exactly. It elevates what might be simple, relatively inexpensive fried food into a more complex signature experience.
Yeah.
Precisely because of that high contrast in flavor and acidity, that sweet, tangy, spicy punch against the savory, fatty base.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about the variability? The hinted spice part suggests it's not always the same level of heat.
Right. And that variability in heat is another critical aspect. It's a huge part of its versatility and its local appeal. Unlike, say, a commercially bottled hot sauce with a standardized Scoville rating, Mambo sauce operates on a really wide spectrum.
And that spectrum is decided by?
By the individual cook.
Yeah.
Whether it's the person running the carryout kitchen or someone making it at home, they customize the heat level.
So this ties back to its decentralized origins again.
Absolutely. That wide spectrum contributes significantly to its appeal because it reflects those organic roots. It wasn't dictated from the top down. So, on the mild end, the sources say some versions just bring a mild tingle to the taste buds.
Okay, so that's the entry point. Sweet and tangy are the stars. Spice is just a background note, a little warmth.
Exactly. Just a slight flavor lift, like a little wake-up call for your palate, but not challenging. Accessible to almost everyone.
But then there's the other end.
But then you have the cooks, the vendors, the home enthusiasts who really lean into the chili part of Mambo chili sauce.
They embrace the heat.
They absolutely do. The sources confirm that others turn up the heat with fiery zest. And this shows something important about the sauce's structure.
Which is?
That the base formula, the sweet and tangy part, is robust enough to handle a lot of heat. You can add a significant amount of capsaicin, whether it's from liquid hot sauce or dried pepper flakes, without completely destroying the sauce's fundamental identity.
So it can be manipulated into a seriously spicy experience if that's what you want, tailored for the heat seekers.
Precisely. You can get versions that offer substantial lingering burn, customized for those who really crave that fiery kick.
And this adaptability, this range from mild tingle to fiery zest, is why it works on so many different foods.
That's exactly why the sources call it an ideal accompaniment for a wide range of dishes. It means the sauce isn't pigeonholed. It doesn't just serve one type of meal or satisfy only one segment of the population's spice preference. It can be almost anything to anyone, heat-wise.
Okay, flavor profile makes sense. What about texture? You mentioned it's often a dipping sauce?
Right, the texture, the viscosity is also really important here. Since it's primarily used as a dipping or drizzling sauce for things like those crispy chicken wings and
It
fries.
needs to stick, right? Not just slide off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The final consistency has to be thick enough to cling to the food. It needs to coat the wing or the fry, not just run off immediately like water.
So it delivers that flavor payload effectively.
Precisely. Ensuring that it adds a lively kick to every bite, as the sources put it. It must coat, not just lubricate. It needs body.
Okay, so if we try to synthesize all that, Mambo sauce is defined by this kind of necessary tension.
Yeah, I think tension is a good word.
Hmm.
It's sweet enough to have broad appeal, almost comforting.
But it's acidic enough, tangy enough to be functionally useful with rich, savory, fried foods.
Right, it serves a purpose beyond just taste.
And then it's customizable enough in its heat level, from barely there to really quite hot, to satisfy pretty much everyone in the DC culinary audience.
That sums it up perfectly. Sweet, tangy, potentially spicy, and thick enough to stick. That's the target profile.
All right. We've established the culture, the history, the required flavor profile. Now, I think it's time. We need to enter the culinary laboratory. Let's do it. Section 3, the deep dive recipe tutorial. Because the sources actually give us a detailed blueprint, our recipe for making this stuff at home. So we need to move beyond just describing it and actually break down the chemistry of how you create that flavor.
Yeah, this is where we get really granular. We're going to analyze the function of every single ingredient listed. Why is it there? What job is it doing?
And the process too, right? The steps involved.
Absolutely. The genius of Mambo sauce, in many ways, is its accessibility. It's built from common kitchen staples, things most people probably have, but the specific combination, and crucially the process used, that's what transforms them.
So we need to analyze the precise mechanism of each ingredient and each step to really understand the final outcome.
Exactly. Let's start with the ingredient inventory. The core components, we'll break them down into functional groups. How about base, stabilizers, and primary flavor modifiers first?
Sounds good. Lay it on me. What's the absolute foundation?
The foundation, the canvas upon which we paint the Mambo flavor, is 1 cup of ketchup.
Okay, ketchup makes sense for a red sauce, but ketchup itself is already pretty complex, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Think about standard ketchup. It's usually tomato concentrate, vinegar, sugar or high fructose corn syrup, salt, and various spices and natural flavorings.
So it's already bringing sweetness, acidity, umami from the tomatoes, and some background spice notes to the table.
Precisely. It provides bulk, that characteristic deep red color, and a significant amount of inherent acidity and sweetness right from the start. Using ketchup as the base means we're starting within a preloaded acidic environment, which is actually important for food safety in a homemade sauce, as well as flavor.
Okay, so ketchup is the starting point, but we're obviously modifying it heavily. What's next?
Next, we drastically modify that base with 12 cup of sugar. White granulated sugar, most likely, unless specified otherwise.
Half a cup to 1 cup of ketchup. That sounds like a lot of sugar.
It is a significant amount, yes. And it's the primary sweetener, obviously, contributing to that necessary sweet side of the sweet-tangy balance.
But does it do anything else besides making it sweet?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Functionally, sugar does several important things here besides taste. First, adding this much sugar raises the boiling point of the mixture slightly.
Why does that matter?
It helps with controlled reduction later on during the simmering phase. It allows the water to evaporate more efficiently without scorching the sugars as easily. Second, sugar is a preservative.
Ah, like in making jams or jellies?
Exactly the same principle. The high sugar concentration binds up water, making it less available for microbial growth. This extends the shelf life of the final sauce, which would be a really important feature for a carryout place making big batches, and useful for home cooks too.
Okay, so sweetness, boiling point elevation, preservation, got it. Now we need the counterpoint to all that sugar, the tang.
Right. And the recipe calls for a 14 cup of apple cider vinegar.
Okay, specifically apple cider vinegar. That seems significant. Why not just cheap distilled white vinegar? That would provide acidity too.
It would provide acidity, yes, but the choice of apple cider vinegar is highly significant for the flavor profile. Distilled white vinegar is basically just acetic acid and water. It gives a very sharp, clean, almost harsh tang.
And apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar is made from fermented apple cider, so it retains some of the characteristics of the apples. It contains malic acid in addition to acetic acid and various volatile esters. These contribute a subtler, fruitier undertone to the acidity.
So it makes the tang brighter, more complex, less aggressive.
Exactly. It provides that necessary low pH to balance the heavy sugar load, but it does so with a more rounded, nuanced flavor profile. It contributes to the overall flavor maturity of the sauce. It's a deliberate choice.
Interesting detail. Okay, what else is in this initial liquid base group?
The last component in the primary liquid base is 14 cups of water.
Water. Why add water if we're going to simmer it down later anyway?
Good question. The water serves a couple of crucial roles right at the beginning. First, it's about initial viscosity and thermal management. Ketchup is thick. Adding water helps thin it out slightly at the start.
Okay, why is that important?
It helps dissolve that large amount of granulated sugar more easily and evenly. You need liquid for the sugar crystals to dissolve into. Without enough initial liquid, you risk having undissolved sugar granules.
Which would make the sauce gritty.
Potentially gritty, yes, and it wouldn't incorporate properly. Also, the extra water helps prevent the very thick ketchup and sugar mixture from sticking to the bottom of the saucepan and scorching during the initial heating phase before everything is fully combined and flowing. It provides a bit of a buffer.
Got it. So ketchup, sugar, apple cider vinegar, water. That's the base liquid mix. What comes next?
Next, we move into the ingredients that primarily adjust the depth of flavor and, crucially, the heat level.
All right, let's talk heat. What's the main source here?
The primary liquid heat element specified is 2 tablespoons of hot sauce.
Just generic hot sauce or a specific type?
The recipe just says hot sauce, which actually adds to the customization aspect. You could use a Louisiana-style cayenne vinegar sauce like Crystal or Frank's Red Hot for a bright, tangy heat. Or maybe something thicker like sriracha for a different texture and garlic note. Or even a habanero sauce if you really want to crank it up.
So the choice of hot sauce itself is a major variable, a huge variable, and the source wisely adds the note. Adjust to your preferred spice level. 2 tablespoons is just a starting point. This component delivers that immediate, liquid-borne capsaicin kick. The heat from the hot sauce integrates fully into the fluid matrix of the sauce very quickly.
Okay, so instant heat from the hot sauce. What about depth? Savory notes.
For umami, that complex, savory depth that makes the sauce work so well with savory foods like chicken and fries, the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of soy sauce.
Soy sauce. Interesting. Not something I'd immediately associate with this kind of sauce.
It might seem surprising, but it's a common trick in many barbecue sauces and glazes too. Soy sauce is packed with naturally occurring glutamates thanks to the fermentation process. So it adds that savory, almost meaty background flavor.
Exactly. It enhances the savory notes already present in the tomato base of the ketchup. It also adds necessary salinity, saltiness, although we'll adjust salt later too, and it contributes to the final rich, deep reddish-brown, almost mahogany color of the sauce once it's reduced.
Okay, hot sauce for heat, soy sauce for umami, and salt. Makes sense. What about dry seasonings?
Right, now we get to the crucial dry seasoning complex. These are mostly powders, and they provide the aromatic depth and more subtle background flavors. They move the sauce beyond just being sweet, tangy, and hot into something much more layered and savory.
What's first?
First up is 1 teaspoon of paprika.
Paprika. Is that sweet paprika, smoked paprika, hot paprika? Does it matter?
The recipe doesn't specify, which again offers room for interpretation. Standard sweet paprika would contribute mostly color, a vibrant red, and a very mild, slightly earthy sweet pepper flavor. Smoked paprika would add a distinct smoky dimension, which could be really nice. Hot paprika would obviously boost the heat level further.
So another point of customization, what's its main role besides flavor?
Color depth is key. It helps achieve that rich, opaque look. And functionally, in sauce making, powders like paprika need time and liquid to fully hydrate and release their flavor oils. This connects directly to the simmering process we'll discuss soon. They need to bloom.
Okay, paprika for color and earthiness. What else in the dry mix? Then we have the indispensable savory foundation duo, 12 teaspoons of garlic powder and 12 teaspoons of onion powder. The allium twins. Why powders instead of fresh garlic and onion?
Convenience and consistency mostly. For a carryout making huge batches, or even for home cooks wanting a repeatable recipe, powders are much easier to handle than mincing fresh garlic and onion.
And they dissolve easily.
Yes, they distribute evenly. Plus, fresh garlic and onion contain a lot of water, which would affect the reduction time. They also have volatile enzymes that can change flavor over time. The powders provide that robust, familiar, allium-based, savory-based flavor, that background hum of pungency in a stable, easily dispersible form. Essential for anything meant to accompany meat or fried foods.
Makes sense. So paprika, garlic powder, onion powder. Is there more heat coming from the dry side?
Yes, there is. The recipe includes 12 teaspoons of crushed red pepper flakes.
Ah, the classic pizza topping flakes. Those are the ones, and again, the crucial instruction, adjust for spiciness. This adds a different kind of heat compared to the liquid hot sauce. How is it different?
The capsaicin in dried flakes tends to release its heat a bit more slowly, especially the oil-soluble parts. It gives you a more delayed, maybe slightly more localized heat sensation. Plus, you get the visual aspect. You can actually see the little red flecks suspended in the sauce.
So it adds textural heat and visually confirms the chili aspect.
Exactly. It provides both a different heat profile and that visual cue that says, yes, this has some spice. And like the hot sauce, the amount is totally up to the maker.
Okay, that seems like a comprehensive list of flavorings. Anything else? Just the final flexible tuning elements. Salt and pepper added right at the end to taste.
Hmm.
Why add salt at the end if we already have soy sauce and ketchup, which are salty?
Because the exact sodium content can vary quite a bit depending on the specific brands of ketchup and soy sauce you use. And also, the simmering process concentrates all the flavors, including saltiness.
Ah, so you can't really know how salty it will be until it's reduced.
Precisely. Adding salt and pepper to taste at the very end allows for that final crucial calibration. You adjust the salinity and the peppery bite based on the final concentrated product, ensuring it's perfectly balanced for your palate and the specific ingredients you used.
Okay, that is a fascinating breakdown of the what? Ketchup base, lots of sugar, apple cider vinegar tang, water for flow, hot sauce and flakes for layered heat, soy for umami, paprika garlic onion for savory depth, salt and pepper to finish.
That's the toolkit. Understanding those ingredients and their roles is really only half the battle, though. Now, we have to analyze the process. How do you combine these things correctly? The sequence and technique are just as important.
Right, because just dumping them all in a pot probably won't work as well.
Definitely not. The step-by-step cooking instructions represent a calculated effort to achieve full flavor integration, proper hydration of the spices, and critically, the ideal final viscosity or thickness. Okay, let's walk through it. Step 1. Combination. What does it say? Step 1 happens in a saucepan, placed over medium heat. Not high heat, not low heat, medium.
Medium heat, why medium?
Medium heat provides enough energy to get things going, specifically to help dissolve the sugar, but it's gentle enough to reduce the risk of scorching, especially with that thick ketchup and all that sugar right at the start.
Okay, medium heat, what goes in first? The initial ingredients to be combined are the main liquids and the sugar. Ketchup, sugar, apple cider vinegar, water, hot sauce, and soy sauce. Basically everything except the dry spices and the final salt and pepper. And the action.
The crucial action is to stir well.
Seems simple, but why is stirring well so important at this specific stage?
It's about achieving complete homogenization, especially dissolving that half cup of sugar. You need the warmth from the medium heat and the mechanical action of stirring to ensure all those sugar crystals fully dissolve into the liquid base.
What happens if they don't?
If the sugar isn't fully dissolved, a few things go wrong. First, as we mentioned, potential gritty texture. Second, the undissolved sugar won't contribute properly to elevating the boiling point or to the final thickness and glossiness of the sauce. Third, undissolved sugar is much more likely to stick to the bottom of the pan and scorch, giving the sauce a burnt taste. So stirring well until the mixture is smooth and the sugar is gone is vital. Okay, dissolve the sugar completely in the liquid base over medium heat. Got it. Then step 2, seasoning integration.
Right.
Only after that liquid base is smooth and homogenized do you add the dry stuff. Paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and the crushed red pepper flakes.
So the powders go in after the sugar is dissolved. Why that order?
Again, it's about ensuring even distribution and proper hydration. If you added the dry spices earlier, while the sugar was still dissolving, or if the mixture was clumpy, the spices might form little clumps themselves.
Ah, like getting pockets of intense paprika flavor.
Exactly. Or maybe they adhere to undissolved sugar crystals. Adding them into a smooth, flowing liquid matrix allows them to disperse evenly throughout the sauce. The instruction is simply to stir to combine all the ingredients.
So just mix them in until everything looks uniform.
Pretty much. From a professional sauce-making perspective, this sequence is best practice. It ensures the dry spices hydrate properly and evenly, setting them up to release their full flavor during the next crucial step,
Which is?
boiling and simmering. This is the thermodynamic heart of the recipe. This is where the magic, or rather the physics, happens.
Okay, break it down. What's the first action here?
Bring the sauce to a boil.
A full rolling boil.
The instruction implies reaching the boiling point, yes. This initial burst of high heat ensures the entire mixture reaches the temperature where significant water evaporation can begin efficiently.
But you don't keep it at a rolling boil, do you? That sounds like it could burn easily.
Exactly right. The boil is immediately managed. The very next instruction is, then reduce the heat.
Reduce it to what? Low. Simmer.
Reduce it so the sauce simmers gently. The instruction says you let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, simmering. Little bubbles breaking the surface, not a frantic boil. For 10 to 15 minutes. That timing seems quite specific.
Sure.
It is. That duration, combined with the gentle simmering, is critical for achieving the main goal of this step, which is stated as simmer until it thickens to your desired consistency. Ah, thickening. This is where the body comes from. Let's unpack the science here. What's actually happening during that simmer?
Okay, thermodynamics. Bringing it to a boil first ensures the whole batch is hot enough for evaporation. Then, reducing to a simmer maintains a temperature slightly above water's boiling point because of the dissolved sugar and solids, but below a vigorous boil. This allows for rapid but controlled water evaporation.
So water turns into steam and leaves the pot.
Precisely. As water evaporates, the concentration of everything else, sugar, acids, tomato solids, spices, salts, increases. The sugar-to-water ratio goes way up.
And that concentrates the flavors.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
All those sweet, tangy, savory, spicy notes become much more intense. But it also does something crucial for texture. As the solids become more concentrated and the sugar solution thickens, the overall viscosity of the sauce increases.
It gets thicker, less watery.
Exactly. That 10 to 15-minute window is the estimated time needed at a gentle simmer to evaporate enough water to reach that classic Mambo sauce thickness, thick enough to coat, remember?
And the simmering also helps the flavors meld. You mentioned the spices hydrating.
Yes, that gentle simmering period is also crucial for flavor development. It gives those dry spices, paprika, garlic, onion, pepper flakes, enough time in the hot liquid to fully rehydrate and release all their volatile oils and aromatic compounds into the sauce. Raw spice powders can taste harsh or chalky. Simmering mellows them and integrates their flavors completely.
So step 3 is about evaporation for thickening, concentration of flavor, and full flavor extraction from the spices. And the target is desired consistency. How do you judge that?
That's subjective, but generally you'd look for the sauce to coat the back of a spoon. When you draw a finger through the sauce on the spoon, the line should hold clearly for at least a few seconds without the sauce immediately running back together. It should look noticeably thicker than when you started.
Okay, visual cues are important. What's next after the simmer? Here's where it gets really interesting, tying back to that flavor concentration we just talked about. Step 4, final adjustments, taste and preference. The tasting step. What's the first adjustment?
The instruction is to season with salt and pepper to taste.
We talked about this adding it at the end because the flavor concentrated.
Exactly. You must taste the sauce after it is reduced and thickened before adding any more salt or pepper. What tasted perfectly seasoned before simmering might be way too salty or peppery now, so you taste and adjust carefully.
But there's another crucial adjustment here, right? Related to heat. Yes, arguably the most important customization step. You must adjust the level of hot sauce and crushed red pepper flakes for your preferred spiciness.
Oh, so you can add more heat right at the end.
Absolutely. Taste the reduced sauce. Is it hot enough for you? Maybe the simmering mellowed the initial hot sauce kick more than you expected. Maybe you want more of that slow burn from the flakes.
So this is the final chance to tailor the heat profile. Add more liquid punch with hike sauce or more textural heat with flakes. Precisely. This step emphasizes the importance of tasting the final reduced product and making it your own. An initial amount of heat might taste perfect before simmering, but after concentration, maybe it's too much, or maybe surprisingly, not enough for your liking. This late-stage adjustment allows the cook to achieve their personal, perfect definition of Mambo spice. This is where the sauce truly becomes theirs. Okay, final seasoning done. The sauce is thick, tastes right. What's step 5? Cooling.
Remove the sauce from heat and allow it to cool.
Why is cooling a distinct step? Can't you just use it hot?
You could, but cooling is essential for a couple of reasons. First, flavor maturity. Just like a stew or chili often tastes better the next day, cooling allows the complex, volatile flavor molecules in the sauce to settle down, stabilize, and integrate more fully.
So the flavors meld even further as it cools. The sharpness might mellow a bit.
Exactly. That sharp acidity from the vinegar integrates more smoothly with the sweetness from the sugar. The different spice notes might round out. The flavors become more cohesive.
And the second reason for cooling.
Texture assessment. This is crucial. The final viscosity, the true thickness and mouthfeel of any sauce, especially one thickened by reduction in sugar concentration, can only be accurately judged once it has cooled down significantly, ideally to room temperature or even fridge temperature, if that's how you'll store it.
Why is that?
Because things like sugar syrups and concentrated pectin from the tomatoes thicken considerably as they cool. A sauce that seems perfectly thick and coating when it's piping hot might actually become too thick, almost jelly-like when cold.
Hmm.
Or, conversely, a sauce that seems a little thin when hot might thicken up to the perfect consistency upon cooling.
Ah, so the cooling process confirms whether you actually achieve the right thickness back in step 3.
Precisely. It's the final check on the texture. You only really know if you nailed the consistency once it's cool. Okay, cool down, flavors melted, texture set. What's step 6? Storage.
Once it's cooled, pour the Mambo sauce into a jar or bottle for storage.
Glass jar, probably best. Doesn't need refrigeration.
Glass jar or airtight container is ideal. And yes, definitely refrigerate it. Even with the sugar and vinegar acting as preservatives, it's not shelf-stable like a commercially processed sauce. Refrigeration is key for safety and quality.
And the instruction implies you've made a decent batch size.
Yeah, starting with a cup of ketchup plus all the other ingredients. After reduction, you'll likely end up with maybe a cup and a half or 2 cups of sauce, enough to fill a standard jar. It confirms its use as a staple you make ahead and keep on hand, ready for use throughout the week or longer. And that leads us right to the final step, step 7, serving. Indeed, the function is confirmed right here. Serve it as a dipping sauce.
And the classic pairings mentioned again.
Chicken wings, French fries, or, intriguingly, other fried delights.
Other fried delights. That opens up possibilities. Fried shrimp, onion rings, mozzarella sticks.
Why not? Its sweet, tangy, spicy profile would work well with almost anything savory and fried. This step brings us right back full circle to its origins in the carryout world. It confirms that its primary job, its culinary destiny, is to provide that rich, acidic, high-impact counterpoint to savory, often high-fat, crispy foods.
The mechanism serves the application perfectly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The entire recipe, ingredient choices, and process steps are designed to produce exactly the kind of sauce needed for that specific purpose.
Wow. Okay. That was incredibly detailed. We've gone from the cultural significance to the precise chemical and physical transformations happening in the saucepan.
It's quite a journey for a humble sauce, isn't it?
It really is. So let's try to wrap this up. What does this all mean? We've traced this hyperlocal DC cultural symbol born out of the necessity and creativity of carryout restaurants.
Right, from that somewhat hazy origin story.
To breaking down the literal technical blueprint required to execute that specific flavor profile in your own kitchen. We didn't just say it's sweet and tangy.
No, we talked about how the sugar concentration aids reduction and preservation, why apple cider vinegar specifically brings a more complex tang than white vinegar.
And when and how to adjust those crucial heat mechanisms, the hot sauce versus the pepper flakes, to get it just right for you.
So, for you listening, you should now have a really comprehensive understanding of Mambo sauce's place, not just on a plate, but in, culinary geography. Its status as a definitive DC cultural symbol.
And hopefully, the analytical step-by-step knowledge required to actually master making it, to understand the why behind each ingredient and instruction.
Yeah, this is meant to be actionable knowledge. It takes the sauce from being just a local curiosity you might read about, or maybe try once, to a culinary technique you understand and can replicate, or even riff on yourself.
Knowledge you can immediately apply in your own kitchen.
Right.
But let's leave you with one final little puzzle to think about. Tying back to that captivating historical ambiguity, that whole debate about the exact origins.
Where are you going with this?
Well, we've just established that the recipe we broke down, while specific, is built using pretty common, accessible kitchen staples, right? Ketchup, sugar, vinegar, hot sauce, basic spices.
Yeah, nothing particularly exotic or hard to find in most modern kitchens, especially not in commercial carryout kitchens over the last few decades.
Okay, so given the wide availability of these core ingredients and that enduring local legend status, the fact that the origin is debated, what specific ingredient, or maybe technique, do you theorize might have been the single original transformative addition?
Ah, the secret ingredient.
Maybe. What was that first spark, that one thing someone added, perhaps by accident or inspiration, that successfully turned what might have been just a basic, sweetened, maybe slightly spicy red sauce into this complex, iconic, culturally essential DC Mambo sauce we know today?
Was it a specific type of hot sauce? A unique spice blend beyond the basics?
Yeah.
Maybe something unexpected like a fruit element or a particular cooking technique?
Exactly. What was the original key that unlocked the Mambo Magic? Considering the common building blocks, what do you think that first secret might have been?
That's a great question to ponder. Something for you to mull over, definitely.
Yeah, something to explore next time you find yourself experimenting with a little kitchen chemistry. Maybe try and create your own legendary local sauce.